All right, a lot to get to today as we continue our UFC 283 recap, and it gives me great pleasure to bring into the conversation host of the MMA Takes podcast, Brian Petrie, handicapper to the stars at Brian Petrie MMA. What's up, man?
Hey, boys.
Cincinnati football Bengals. You know, Anik and Florian podcast host Jason Anik, as sort of respectfully as he could say this publicly, felt like the Cincinnati Bengals got absolutely hosed. So nice to see them in the Final Four in the AFC Championship game.
Yes, Jay sent me a very nice text when we pretty much wrapped it up Saturday. I thought, I played the Bengals money line because they were plus 210, which I thought was very disrespectful, very little baby bet. But I want to play the over because I thought the over was a sure thing hit. Good thing I didn't because it didn't go over. I thought it was going to be points. But the Bengals just shut them down in the snow. Now we're getting the Bengals wore the all whites. That's why the Bills couldn't see them in the snow. We're getting all this bullshit because no one wants to respect the Cincinnati Bengals. But, we got Joe Shiesty back there. We got a good team. We start 0-2, and now we're on this run. And all we got to do is beat Kansas City again with a high ankle sprain Mahomes, which I think we're going to do. That line moved. I don't know if you saw that, Johnny. It opened at we were plus 3.5 dogs. Now we're currently favorites on some books.
Yeah.
So a lot of line movement, but can't be more excited, man.
Very exciting stuff. So I think a lot of the nation was rooting for the Buffalo Bills, in part because it's a star franchise. Not that the Cincinnati Bengals are not. The Bengals did go to the Super Bowl last year, and obviously you and I both know the Cincinnati Bengals let one get away last year, right? 100%. But as a New England Patriots fan, it's just really hard to get myself in a rooting direction for the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, or the Buffalo Bills, right? So as a lot of our listenership knows, I place bets on the Buffalo Bills to try to take them down so as for them to lose, right? So I thought it might give you some pleasure today for me to rip up all my Buffalo Bills tickets live on the air in front of you. So let's just see what we have here before we get back into the UFC 283 stuff. So here is a bet placed on April 29th, 2022. At Mandalay Bay or MGM at plus 650, Bills to win the Super Bowl, 200 to pay 1,500, or as we like to say, 200 to pay zero. Take down the Buffalo Bills. Take them right down. Sorry, honey. All right, this next one is this was placed on July 1st, 2022. Got a couple extra $100 in the pocket leaving Vegas, just trying to take the Buffalo Bills down. Plus 600, placed at Red Rock, 200 to pay 200 to pay 1,200, or as we like to say, 200 to pay zero. We'll rip that up. Buffalo Bills not winning the Super Bowl this year. Buffalo Bills not winning the Super Bowl this year. And then finally, June 27th, so a few days prior at Red Rock. What a degenerate. $300 to pay $1,800 on the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl, or zero.
I'm out of here. Thank you, John. As a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I think I can speak for the beautiful city of Cincinnati. Thank you for taking down the Buffalo Bills for us. That was much needed. Everyone was on the Bills, I felt like. I mean, listen, they're a team I can understand you root for. Buffalo is a type of city. Some people call it a town. It's not really a city. It's very cool. They jump through tables, all that stuff. That's great. But, I can't believe how many Pats fans root for the Bills. That's crazy to me. Like a lot of Barstool guys. I love Barstool. A lot of those Barstool guys like sneaky. You'll never catch me rooting for the Steelers, the Browns, or the Ravens ever. I was so shocked that people are doing that. It's weird to me.
Yeah, you won't find that on the Anik and Florian podcast. You won't find a lot of Buffalo Bills support. All right, I want to share with you guys some quotes from John Hackelman, dear friend of the program, and we have messaged privately. He does want to come talk about this fight, so either on Instagram Live or on the Anik and Florian podcast channel or here on the DraftKings YouTube channel, at some point you're going to hear from Hack. But these are the quotes, and I think, candidly, when we sit down with him, you're going to hear a lot of this as well. If you don't know, he told MMA Fighting that he is going to heretofore retire from cornering. And on the broadcast, if you missed it, I sort of suggested after round 4 that if I know John Hackelman the way I think I do, he's going to try to stop this fight. And then I was able to read his lips, and he said something to the effect of, can we stop this thing? So here are the quotes from John Hackelman. I'm a known fight stopper in between rounds. I'm kind of known for that, maybe a little too much at times, but I thought this was a good time to stop it. I was outvoted in the corner. And I'm going to read these. They may be a little bit out of order, but win or lose, Glover would have retired. He's ready. He's done enough. He's proved enough. I just don't like to see guys get any kind of beatings or brain damage. I'm just real quick on the gun. I'm thankful they didn't stop it. I know this wouldn't have gone well with anyone. It would have made a lot of people really unhappy, and I don't want it to be about me. I would have thrown it in after the third round, though. I would have been completely happy with the fight stopping there. I saw no reason for it to go on after that. And of course, it went on for 10 minutes thereafter. When my fighters fight, I can't put myself in their place. I wish my trainers would have stopped a couple fights earlier. They never stopped fights back in the day, especially boxing. I love these guys, but it's also not good for them. I'm sure I've taken away a lot of potential wins. Imagine if Yuri Prochazka's corner threw in the towel in the middle of the fifth round against Glover Teixeira. And then he goes on to say this, Kenny, and I really wanted you to hear this. Glover's smiling, telling everyone he's fine, even though you could tell he wasn't. I'm so good right now. I love life. I love this. But he wasn't saying it with a little less, or he was saying it with a little less, right? His mouth wasn't moving as much. That's for sure. That's my last cornering. I'm never going to work a corner again. Kenny, your thoughts on all that? Ken Flo, you're muted. I love you, though.
This is a guy, sorry about that. This is a guy, John Hackleman, who knows Glover and has been with Glover longer than any of those guys. He has known Glover well over a decade, and he understands where Glover was at way back when, over a decade ago, to where he's at now. And if he's seeing him react differently, even though, it's not just what someone is saying, it's what they're doing, it's how they're acting, it's how they're, what their mannerisms are like. All those little subtle things are things that like a guy like John Hackleman is going to pick up. I tweeted something yesterday, how do you decide on stopping a fight early or late? I think a lot of it has to do with, and I guess I'll just read, does the completion of this fight tonight help this fighter perform better tomorrow, or does the fight tonight hurt to hurt them in performing better tomorrow, right? It's like, what are they gaining out of this performance? Even in the win, it's like maybe that extra 2 minutes of fight time takes away their ability to have 7, 8, 9, 10 fights, or hurts their ability, to be quicker or to react quicker. All these things that could be devastating to a fighter. You go back, whether it's boxing or MMA, you see fighters after that fight, they are not the same, not because of confidence, because physically they are more disabled than they were before. So these are the things that we need to take into consideration is, how much are we investing, now to get later on? And sometimes it's just not worth the squeeze, and you have to cut your losses and say, you know what, we're going to live to be, stop. Right now, stop this fight so we can be better next time. Because a lot of times you see this and the warrior comes out and you love to see it. But if they don't have a chance in winning that fight, or if you feel like that extra 2 minutes is going to hurt your fighter in the future, then you got to stop the fight. It's the health of the fighter versus the career of the fighter. And sometimes that gets very hazy. I'll definitely admit that. It can be a tough decision to make, but it's something that needs to be taken into consideration. And I think John Hackleman has been around this sport for a long time. He's seen the effects on other guys, right, that he has coached. And I don't think he really wants to be a part of it anymore.
Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First off, John Hackleman's self-awareness there and he's holding himself accountable for maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's really nice to see. I really respect that man. He goes back obviously a million years with Chuck and everything, and he's a great coach. I agree with everything what Kenny said. It's such a weird spot because as a non-fighter, what my position is, what do I say here? And I'm always quick to throw in the towel too. I don't like seeing people get beat up, and I was calling for the fight to be stopped with the Glover fight. But the only thing that I guess gives me a little bit of solace was he knew that was his last fight. He probably was like, let me go out on my shield. I'm done after this. No matter what, I'm done after this. I'm in Brazil. I'm getting my shot. Let me go out there. Maybe that's why his other cornermen was hesitant to throw in the towel. And then obviously no one predicted him to get mountain, do what he did in the fifth round, which is like, oh, wow, he's mounting a little bit of a comeback here. So it's such a tough situation. The Lauren Murphy fight is another one. I know her coach has got some heat. She's made some statements as well. And it's just a really tough spot when you're in a corner. The corner gets heat. I also would put a little bit on the referee, especially in the Lauren Murphy fight. I'm not trying to be biased or sexist here. Lauren Murphy has taken some really big shots. Those sounds of those shots were pretty incredible.
And Osiris Maya didn't even close the distance one time.
The guy was like reading a book in there. I'm like, buddy, can you get in there a little bit? What are you doing? But yeah, so Glover ending his career like this, I think he went out the way he wanted to go out. The guy's an absolute fucking stud. Much respect to Glover. But yeah, it's a tough situation. I'm glad I don't make those decisions.
Yeah, and I don't